There is a silence in your life right now that feels unfamiliar, not because everything disappeared, but because something inside you is no longer the same. You notice it in small moments. The things that once excited you no longer hold the same power over your heart. The distractions that once helped you escape your thoughts now feel empty. Even when you try to return to the version of yourself that once felt comfortable, something inside you resists. And this resistance can feel confusing, because part of you wants to go back. Part of you wants to feel the same certainty, the same emotional dependence on what once gave you identity. But another part of you has already begun to detach. Ibn Arabi teaches that when Allah prepares a servant for a higher spiritual station, He begins by dissolving the false identities the servant built around temporary things, not because those things were evil, but because they were never meant to define you. Your worth was never meant to come from people's attention. Your stability was never meant to come from predictable routines. Your identity was never meant to come from anything that could be taken away. So Allah, in His mercy, begins removing the emotional dependence you had on these things, not to weaken you, but to return you to your original strength. Because the version of you that depended on creation was fragile. It could be shaken. It could be broken. It could be lost. But the version of you that depends on Allah becomes stable in a way nothing in this world can destroy. This emptiness you feel is not a punishment. It is the space where Allah is rebuilding you. He is teaching your heart to stand without leaning on what cannot last. He is teaching your soul to find peace without needing constant reassurance. He is teaching you to exist with Him as your foundation. This season feels empty only because your heart is being cleared of what could not go with you. Allah is not erasing your value. He is revealing it. And the version of you that emerges from this season will be able to carry a rank your old self never could. Allah is hiding your elevation so your ego does not destroy what your soul is ready to receive. There is a quiet frustration you may be feeling in this season. You are trying. You are making effort to grow, to become stronger, to become closer to Allah. But externally, it feels like nothing reflects your effort. No visible elevation, no recognition, no moment where you can clearly say, "This is where my life changed." And this can make you question yourself. It can make you wonder if you are standing still while everyone else moves forward. But Ibn Arabi teaches that Allah hides the elevation of the servant He loves most, because visibility can corrupt sincerity. The nafs is subtle. It does not always appear as arrogance. Sometimes it appears as the need to see your own progress, the need to feel special, the need to know that you are advancing. And if Allah allows your ego to witness your elevation too early, the ego can attach itself to that elevation. It can begin to believe the elevation belongs to you, instead of recognizing it belongs to Allah. So Allah protects you by hiding it. He allows your heart to grow in secret. He allows your patience to deepen without applause. He allows your sincerity to mature without interruption. Because sincerity that grows in darkness becomes unbreakable in light. You may not see how your heart has become more stable. You may not see how your dependence on people has weakened. You may not see how your trust in Allah has become stronger, but Allah sees it, and that is what matters. Because elevation in the sight of Allah is not measured by what people see. It is measured by what your heart becomes. This season is teaching your soul to grow without needing validation, to trust Allah without needing visible proof, to become strong without needing recognition, because when Allah finally reveals your elevation, it will not be something your ego can claim. It will be something your purified heart can carry safely. You are not being overlooked. You are being elevated in a way that protects your soul. Allah removed what you loved because your heart was beginning to belong to it more than Him. There was something in your life that made you feel emotionally anchored. It gave you a sense of stability. It gave you a sense of identity. It gave you a sense of emotional safety. It may have been a person, it may have been a plan, it may have been a version of your life you believed would continue, and you allowed your heart to settle into its presence. Not because you intended to replace Allah, but because you are human, and the human heart naturally attaches to what gives it comfort. But Ibn Arabi teaches that Allah watches the heart of his servant carefully. He sees when the heart begins to lean too heavily on something temporary. He sees when the servant begins to rely emotionally on creation in a way that weakens their reliance on the Creator. And because Allah loves you, He does not allow your heart to build its foundation on what can collapse. So He removes it, not always suddenly, sometimes gradually, sometimes painfully, sometimes in ways you do not understand. And when it leaves, it feels like something inside you has been torn away, because your heart had invested itself there. But what you did not see is this: Allah was not removing your stability. He was removing your illusion of stability, because true stability cannot be taken from you. True stability exists only in Allah. Everything else is temporary. Everything else can change. Everything else can disappear. And Allah knows that the rank He is preparing you for requires a heart that depends on Him alone, because a heart that depends on creation will always live in fear of loss. But a heart that depends on Allah becomes free, free from emotional slavery, free from constant anxiety, free from the fear of abandonment. This loss was not Allah taking something valuable from you. It was Allah returning something valuable to you, your heart. He was returning your heart to its original owner, so that when He elevates you, your heart will not break under the weight of attachment. It will remain steady, anchored, secure in Him alone. This confusion is not misguidance. It is Allah teaching you to see with the heart, not the eyes. There is a kind of confusion you may be feeling that is deeper than ordinary uncertainty. It is not just confusion about what to do. It is confusion about where your life is going. You try to understand what Allah is doing. You try to find clear signs. You try to make sense of why certain doors closed, why certain feelings changed, why certain paths disappeared. But clarity does not come the way you expect. And this can make you feel unstable, because the nafs depends on visible certainty to feel safe. The nafs wants guarantees. It wants timelines. It wants proof that everything will work out. But Ibn Arabi teaches that Allah does not guide you by giving you full visibility of your path. He guides you by transforming the one who walks the path. Because if Allah showed you everything too early, your trust would depend on what you see, not on Him. And Allah is not just building your future, He is building your trust in Him. This confusion is not evidence that you are lost. It is evidence that you are being retrained. Allah is teaching your heart to move without needing to control outcomes, to remain steady without needing immediate answers, to believe in His wisdom even when your mind cannot understand it. Because the mind seeks control, but the heart seeks surrender. And spiritual elevation does not come through control. It comes through surrender. This season is weakening your dependence on certainty, so your dependence on Allah can become absolute. You are learning to walk forward, not because you see the entire staircase, but because you trust the one who built it. And this kind of trust transforms you. It removes fear. It removes panic. It removes the illusion that you must understand everything to remain stable. Because true stability comes from knowing that Allah understands everything, even when you do not. One day, what feels confusing now will feel precise. What feels uncertain now will feel intentional. What feels like delay now will feel like protection. But for now, Allah is teaching your heart one of the highest spiritual stations, to trust Him without needing to see. Your isolation is not abandonment. It is Allah pulling you away from noise so you can hear Him. There is a loneliness in this season that feels different from anything you have experienced before. It is not just physical loneliness, it is emotional and spiritual distance. You may still be surrounded by people, but internally you feel separate. You feel like fewer people understand what you are going through. You feel like the connections that once filled your heart no longer reach the same depth. And this can make you question your place. It can make you wonder if you are being forgotten, if you are being left behind, if you are becoming invisible. But Ibn Arabi teaches that isolation is often one of the greatest signs that Allah is preparing you for closeness to Him. Because when your life is full of noise, your heart becomes distracted. It becomes dependent on constant interaction, constant validation, constant emotional stimulation. And in that noise, it becomes difficult to hear Allah clearly. So Allah, in His mercy, creates space. He removes certain distractions. He creates distance between you and what once consumed your attention. Not to punish you, but to reclaim your heart, because Allah wants your heart to return to Him fully. In isolation, you begin to see yourself more clearly. You begin to recognize how much of your emotional stability depended on others. You begin to recognize how much of your identity was shaped by external attention. And slowly, your heart begins to detach, not from love, but from dependence. You begin to realize that your peace was never meant to come from constant presence of people. It was meant to come from constant presence of Allah. Isolation removes the illusion that you need the world to feel complete. It teaches your heart to feel complete with Allah alone. And this is one of the highest forms of spiritual strength. Because when your heart no longer depends on creation, it becomes unbreakable. This isolation is not your abandonment. It is your invitation. An invitation into deeper closeness. An invitation into deeper awareness. An invitation into a relationship with Allah that is not interrupted by noise. You are not alone in this season. You are being brought closer than you have ever been before. Allah is breaking your dependence on creation so your heart can survive only on Him. There was a time when your emotional stability depended on things outside of you, on people responding the way you hoped, on plans unfolding the way you expected, on life remaining predictable. And when those things were stable, you felt stable. But when they changed, you felt yourself collapse with them, because your heart had quietly learned to lean on creation, not intentionally, not consciously, but gradually. You began to feel safe because certain people were there. You began to feel secure because certain routines existed. You began to feel grounded because certain outcomes seemed guaranteed. And when Allah began removing those guarantees, it felt like your foundation was breaking. It felt like you were losing control. It felt like everything that once held you steady was disappearing. But Ibn Arabi teaches that Allah does not break your dependence on creation to weaken you. He breaks it to free you. Because anything you depend on besides Allah will eventually fail you. People change. Circumstances shift. Opportunities disappear. And if your heart depends on what is temporary, your peace will always be temporary. So Allah, in His mercy, removes the illusion of permanent security from creation. He allows you to experience moments where people cannot save you, where plans cannot save you, where distractions cannot save you. So your heart begins to turn toward the only source that has never failed you, Him. At first, this feels terrifying, because your nafs is losing what it used to rely on. It is losing its familiar anchors. But slowly, something deeper begins to form inside you. A stability that does not depend on outcomes. A peace that does not depend on people. A strength that does not depend on circumstances. You begin to realize that even when everything around you changes, Allah remains. Even when people leave, Allah remains. Even when your plans collapse, Allah remains. And when your heart truly understands this, something powerful happens. Fear begins to lose its control over you, because you are no longer relying on fragile things to feel safe. You are relying on the one who controls everything. This is what Ibn Arabi described as the beginning of true spiritual freedom, when your heart stops leaning on creation and begins standing firmly with Allah. This season is not breaking you. It is removing what made you breakable. It is teaching your heart to stand without needing anything except Him. And when your heart reaches this state, nothing in this world can truly destroy your peace. One day you will realize this was the season Allah raised you to a rank you could not see. Right now, it is difficult to see the full meaning of this season. You feel the weight of it. You feel the silence. You feel the loss, the distance, the uncertainty. And part of you is still trying to understand why it had to happen this way. Because when you are inside the transformation, it does not feel like elevation. It feels like dismantling. It feels like parts of your identity are being taken away. It feels like the version of your life you once understood is no longer there. But Ibn Arabi teaches that when Allah intends to raise a servant to a higher spiritual station, He first takes them through a process that the ego interprets as loss, but the soul recognizes as return. Because Allah is not just changing your circumstances, He is changing your capacity. He is expanding your heart so it can carry what it could not carry before. He is purifying your dependence so your peace is no longer controlled by fragile things. He is strengthening your connection to Him so your stability becomes permanent. One day, you will look back at this season and realize that what felt like emptiness was actually space. Space Allah created to rebuild you. What felt like isolation was actually protection. Protection from attachments that would have weakened your future. What felt like confusion was actually guidance. Guidance that was reshaping the way your heart sees everything. You will realize that Allah was not absent. He was closer than ever. He was removing what did not belong in your next chapter. He was preparing you for a version of yourself that your old life could not contain, because elevation is never random. Allah does not raise a servant accidentally. He raises them after their heart has learned to survive, without depending on anything except Him. He raises them after their trust becomes deeper than their fear. He raises them after their identity becomes rooted in Him, not in the world. And when that moment arrives, you will not just have a higher rank, you will have a stronger heart, a calmer soul, a certainty that cannot be shaken by loss or delay. You will realize that this season was not meant to break you, it was meant to reveal you. The version of you that trusts Allah completely, the version of you that stands firmly, even when the world shifts. The version of you that has been quietly prepared for elevation all along. This was not the season you were forgotten. This was the season Allah raised you closer to Him than you have ever been before.